When Jesus had entered Capernaum, a centurion came to him asking for help. "Lord," he said, "my servant lies at home paralyzed and in terrible suffering." Jesus said to him, "I will go and heal him." The centurion replied, "Lord, I do not deserve to have you come under my roof, but just say the word and my servant will be healed. For I myself am a man under authority with soldiers under me. I tell this one, 'Go,' and he goes, and to that one, 'Come,' and he comes. I say to my servant, 'Do this,' and he does it." When Jesus heard this, he was astonished. And he said to those following him, "I tell you the truth, I have not found anyone in Israel with such great faith. I say to you that many will come from the east and the west, and will take their places at the feast with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob in the kingdom of heaven. But the subjects of the kingdom will be thrown outside into the darkness, where there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth." Then Jesus said to the centurion, "Go, and it will be done just as you believed it would." And his servant was healed at that very hour. The faithful response of the centurion astonished Jesus. This Roman soldier has displayed greater faith than any Jew that Jesus had come across thus far. This is a faith that we should want to live up to. He believed not only that Jesus had the power to heal, but that Jesus' power was not bound by distance. The centurion did not need Jesus to be physically with his servant to have faith that Jesus' power would heal him. In our science-based world, seeing is believing. As little as we actually understand about gravity, we know something about it because of what we can see and observe. If I drop a book, I know that it will fall down because everything else that I have dropped before has fallen down. If the sky is gray, then I know that it will probably rain soon. I know this because I have repeatedly experienced water falling out of dark gray skies. Seeing and observing makes it much easier to believe something. But sometimes not even seeing is believing. To believe in miracles takes something more than the logical mind. To believe in the power of God takes faith. There have been many times in my life when I've experienced God and my logical mind would begin racing. It would try to discover a rational, observable, testable explanation. Simply experiencing the power of God does not ensure faith. A new expression of seeing and not believing is Jesus' disciples just a few verses later. After the disciples see the centurion's display of faith, Jesus heals Peter's mother-in-law. Then Jesus casts out demons and heals even more. Jesus and his disciples set sail and a furious storm comes upon them. After just seeing and experiencing the power of Jesus, the disciples still respond out of fear. They shake Jesus awake and cry out, "Lord, save us! We're going to drown." Before calming the storm, Jesus looks at them and says, "You of little faith, why are you so afraid?" They had experienced the power of Christ, yet their fear still beat out the faith. An old expression of seeing and not believing is the Israelites being delivered from Egypt. God sends 10 miraculous signs and wonders that lead to the Israelites being set free. Then God parts the Red Sea so they can walk across on dry land. Then God turns bitter water into sweet water so they can drink it. Then the Israelites start grumbling. "If only we had died by the Lord's hand in Egypt. There we sat around pots of meat and ate all the food we wanted. But you have brought us out into this desert to starve this entire assembly to death." They had experienced God's provision again and again, yet still did not have faith that God would provide for them. Luckily for us, faith can grow. Seeing and not believing can grow into seeing and believing. A new expression of this is Jesus' apostle Thomas. After Jesus' death, Thomas had trouble believing his resurrection. The other disciples told him, "We have seen the Lord." But Thomas said to them, "Unless I see the nail marks in his hands, and put my finger where the nails were, and put my hand into his side, I will not believe." Thomas would not believe unless he saw and experienced Jesus once more. An old expression of seeing and believing is Gideon. Gideon was one of the judges who saved the Israelites, but he was hesitant to accept his role. God tells Gideon, "I will be with you." But Gideon still doubts that God will use him to save the Israelites. Gideon said to God, "If you will save Israel by my hand as you have promised, look, I have placed a wool fleece on the threshing floor. If there is dew only on the fleece and all the ground is dry, then I will know that you will save Israel by my hand, as you have said." And that is exactly what happened. Then Gideon said to God, "Do not be angry with me. Let me make just one more request. Allow me once more to test with the fleece. This time make the fleece dry and the ground covered in dew." That night God did so. It took Gideon seeing twice to believe. Small faith is still faith and can be used by God. Thomas went on to believe in the resurrection, and Gideon went on to save the Israelites. But the words of Jesus to Thomas ring out to us today. "Because you have seen me, you have believed. Blessed are those who have not seen and yet have believed." Mature faith is not seeing, yet still believing. The faith of the centurion is a new expression of that, but that type of faith is not new. The Lord said to Abram, "Leave your country, your people, and your father's household, and go into the land I will show you." And without any recorded response, Abram went. There was no seeing, there was only believing. When God made a covenant with Abram, Abram believed the Lord, and he credited it to him as righteousness. The writer of Hebrew uses Abraham's faith as one of the examples of what our faith should be. Now, faith is being sure of what we hope for and certain of what we do not see. That is the type of faith the centurion displayed. That is the type of faith that Abraham displayed. Faith that astonishes Jesus is a new, old ideal. Faith that astonishes Jesus is believing without seeing. God will use whatever level of faith you have right now. But my prayer for you is that you will never stop growing in your faith. For blessed are those who have not seen and yet still believe.